Picture this. Wojak Hamster is standing in a dealership that reeks of fresh leather and broken futures. His paws are slick with sweat. Under the fluorescent light sits a blood-red Ferrari 488 Spider, and a slick weasel in pinstripes is sliding the paperwork across the desk. $2,900 a month, 72 months. Wojak's hand trembles as he reaches for the pen. Right then, SHIB Ninja kicks the door open, trench coat flapping, phone already recording. Yo, Wojak's getting a Ferrari. Doge is dead. We're winning. He's screaming into his Instagram story while Wojak signs his life away. Outside in a 2014 Toyota Camry, with a cracked dashboard and a coffee stain on the passenger seat, El Pepperoni adjusts his pepperoni sombrero, watches through the glass and starts scribbling on a gas station receipt. He isn't laughing. He's doing math, and the math is horrifying. That receipt is about to reveal something that will change how you see every car payment, every lease, every "I deserve this purchase" you've ever made. If you don't want to miss what El Pepperoni figured out, subscribe right now, because this one's going to leave a mark. Here's what El Pepperoni scratched onto that receipt in the parking lot. That 488 Spider runs about $320,000. Wojak has $4,000 in savings, so he leases. $2,900 a month for 72 months. Over 6 years, he'll hand over $208,800 for a car he will never own. When the lease ends, he returns it. Zero equity, zero assets. Just a stack of memories and a dent in his credit report. But $2,900 is just the opening act. Insurance on a Ferrari runs $4,200 a year, $350 a month. Premium fuel because this Italian machine refuses regular, another $300 monthly. Maintenance visits every 7,500 miles at $2,000 a pop. Averaged out, $200 a month. Pirelli tires at $6,000 a set lasting 15,000 miles. $150 more. El Pepperoni adds it up on the receipt. $2,900, $350, $300, $200, $150. Total, $3,900 a month. Every month, 6 years, $280,800. For something that was never his. Now look at El Pepperoni's Camry. Bought used for $11,000. Insurance $90 a month. Gas $120. Maintenance almost zero because Toyotas don't break, they just get uglier. Total monthly cost $250. The gap between them is $3,650 a month. El Pepperoni flips the receipt over and keeps writing. That $3,650 in an index fund returning 10% annually, the historical average of the S&P 500, becomes $363,000 after 6 years. $750,000 after 10, $2.8 million after 20. Wojak gets strangers saying, "Nice car," at gas stations. El Pepperoni gets generational wealth. Same salary, same city. One of them will retire free. The other one can't even afford to quit. And SHIB Ninja? He's in an even darker hole, because at least Wojak is honest about what he bought. SHIB is paying full price for something that doesn't even exist. See, SHIB Ninja doesn't have a Ferrari. He has a leased BMW 3 Series that he parks at angles, so it looks like a 7 Series in photos. His phone screen is cracked, but his Instagram bio reads "Future Millionaire." That Matrix trench coat? Afterpay. $400 in 4 installments. His gym costs $199 a month, an elite performance center, because he needs to be seen lifting. His protein powder runs $85 a tub when the same amino acids sit in a $12 bag at Costco. Everything SHIB does is performance. Projection. Cardboard armor spray-painted gold. El Pepperoni has a name for this. He calls it the perception tax. The most expensive product on the market, with infinite cost and zero resale value. SHIB pays it daily. But the Ferrari payment and the perception tax are child's play compared to what the system does to Wojak's actual paycheck. This next part is where the real bleeding starts. Let's look at Wojak's salary the way a forensic accountant would, the way El Pepperoni does every time he evaluates a deal. Wojak earns $60,000 a year, feels solid, feels middle class, feels like a hamster who's doing fine. Watch what happens. Federal income tax bites first, 12%, $7,200 gone. State tax in an average state, 5%, $3,000 gone. FICA, Social Security and Medicare, 7.65%, $4,590 gone. Before Wojak has bought a single thing, $14,790 has evaporated. $60,000 just became $45,210. $45,000. Sounds survivable, right? That's exactly when the next blade drops. If the math is already making your stomach tighten, smash that like button. It's free, it takes half a second, and it helps other Wojaks find this video before it's too late. Wojak drives 45 minutes each way, 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 390 hours a year, nearly 10 full work weeks sitting in traffic, white-knuckling the steering wheel of that leased Ferrari, while podcasts about hustle culture yell in his ear. Commuting costs, gas, tolls, parking, wear, run $4,800 annually. $45,210 just became $40,410. But nobody calculates this next part. Wojak gets home, collapses onto the couch, fur matted with sweat, and opens DoorDash. 3 times a week, $45 each time. $7,020 a year in stress food. The same meals cooked at home would cost $2,800. That's a $4,220 exhaustion tax. His real income is now $36,190. We haven't touched his work wardrobe, Friday decompression drinks, or the meditation app he subscribed to because his job gives him chest pains. When El Pepperoni finishes the receipt, he's burned through 3 receipts by now. Wojak's true annual income after every work-related cost is roughly $23,400. Divide that by the real hours Wojak gives to work. Commute, decompression, Sunday night dread, the mental overhead of a job he can't quit. About 2,400 hours, $9.75 per hour, less than the teenager flipping tortillas at the Taco Bell near his apartment. You're probably thinking, okay, but that's Wojak. I'm smarter than that. Pull up your bank statement, right now. Look at the last 30 days. Count every purchase that exists only because your job exhausts you. That $6 coffee because you woke up too drained to brew it. That upgraded phone plan because you don't have time to deal with the slow one. Every one of those dollars is a soldier that deserted your army. El Pepperoni tracks every dollar. Not because he's cheap, because he knows that untracked money is bled money. And he knows something else. Something that took 50 years to engineer. Wojak's low real wage isn't bad luck. It isn't poor choices. It's architecture. And the blueprints go back to 1971. Let me show you who drew them. Wojak's grandfather bought a house in 1970 on a single factory salary. 3 years of saving. 1 income. 1 mortgage. Paid it off. Threw a barbecue. Never thought about it again. Then, in 1971, the gold standard collapsed. Money stopped being tied to anything real. The printing press became the government's favorite toy, and inflation started eating purchasing power like termites in drywall. Slow, invisible, and by the time you notice, the structure is hollow. By 1985, 1 income wasn't enough. Wojak's mom went to work too. She came home smelling like machine oil and microwave dinner every night. 2 jobs in the family, still short on rent. And here's the vicious irony. When 2-income families became the norm, the economy didn't say, great, more money, let's keep prices stable. It said, great, 2 incomes, let's price everything to match. Housing doubled. Childcare went from 0, because 1 parent was home, to $15,000 a year. The second car became mandatory, the second commute, the second stress tax. 2 incomes, but the family was more fragile than before. If either parent lost a job, the entire structure collapsed. In 1970, there was a backup. 1 parent could pick up work while the other searched. By 2000, there was no backup. Every dollar from both paychecks was already committed. The 2-income trap snapped shut. This wasn't an accident. This was architecture. Decades of deregulation, policy rewrites, and a credit industry that discovered something beautiful from their perspective. If you convince people that debt is normal, you can harvest the middle class for generations without them even noticing. They gave it names that sound responsible. Building credit, leveraging debt, investing in yourself. El Pepperoni heard these phrases in college and laughed out loud. Wojak heard them and took notes. He's a good hamster. He does what he's told. But the system saved its cruelest joke for the people who fight back. The name they gave El Pepperoni, the word banks use for him behind closed doors, will make your blood boil. Pepperoni. Banks call El Pepperoni a deadbeat. That's their official internal term for someone who pays his credit card in full every month, never carries a balance, never pays a cent of interest. Deadbeat, because he's dead to their revenue model. They can't extract profit from him. Meanwhile, Wojak has a different label. They call him a revolver, someone who revolves a balance month to month, paying minimums, accruing interest, generating revenue forever. Wojak is their dream customer. They send him pre-approved offers with platinum stamped in foil because it makes him feel chosen. El Pepperoni grips the receipt so hard it tears at the corner. And the boots theory proves it gets worse at the bottom. A rich man buys $50 boots that last 10 years. A poor man buys $10 boots that last one season. Over 10 years, the poor man spends $100 and still has wet feet. Poverty is more expensive than wealth. That's not philosophy. It's accounting. Overdraft fees average $35 per hit. Overdraft by $5 and you pay $35. That's 700% annualized on a $5 loan. Payday loans charge 400% APR. Late fees on credit cards hit $41. Your zip code determines your insurance rate, your mortgage rate, your grocery prices. Two people with identical FICO scores get different rates based on where they sleep. The system charges you more for having less. And if you think your credit score protects you, wait until you see what El Pepperoni built that makes all of this irrelevant. He calls it walkaway power. And it changes the physics of every relationship you have. El Pepperoni leans back in his Camry, takes a sip of homebrewed coffee from a thermos that cost $12 at Walmart, and opens his brokerage app. The number on the screen would make Wojak drop his cigarette into his buckwheat. It would make SHIB Ninja's trench coat spontaneously combust. But El Pepperoni doesn't look at that number with excitement. He looks at it with something quieter, something most people never feel in their entire financial lives. Relief. That number represents the ability to say no. To anyone. At any time. For any reason. He calls it walkaway power. And once you understand it, every financial decision you ever make will filter through this single lens. Here's what walkaway power actually means. And it's not just about money, it's about the physics of leverage. When Wojak's boss tells him to work Saturday, again, Wojak says yes. Not because he wants to, not because he's loyal, because he has $4,000 in savings and $3,900 in monthly car payments. The word no has been priced out of his vocabulary. His boss knows this. Maybe not consciously, but the system knows. Trapped people are cheap. They accept skipped raises. They accept being spoken to in ways that make their stomach clench every Sunday night. They accept because they have to. SHIB Ninja thinks the answer is looking powerful. The trench coat, the BMW, the gym selfies. But behind the costume, his account holds $900 and his credit card balance is $14,000. He's one flat tire from calling his mom again. His whole identity is a leveraged position with zero collateral. El Pepperoni can actually walk away. Because he built something neither of them knows exists. He calls it the breathing line. The breathing line is the exact dollar amount in invested assets where your passive income, dividends, interest, whatever generates cash, covers your non-negotiable monthly expenses, not wants, not Ferrari dreams, just survival, roof, food, insurance, utilities. For El Pepperoni, that number is $1,800 a month. Rent split with a roommate, $800. Groceries, $300. Insurance, $150. Utilities and phone, $150. Buffer, $400. $1,800 total. To generate $1,800 a month passively at a 4% safe withdrawal rate, he needs $540,000 invested. That's his breathing line. He was sitting in a Walmart parking lot when his phone buzzed and the portfolio number crossed it. He looked at the screen, and for the first time in his life, he breathed without counting the cost of air. Something shifted after that day. Not his lifestyle, not his car, not his sombrero. What changed was the weight on his chest. It vanished. Every conversation at work felt different. Every meeting felt different. Because he knew with mathematical certainty that he could stand up, walk through the door, and survive indefinitely without a paycheck. He didn't quit. That's the beautiful irony. Once you can leave, the pressure to stay disappears, and suddenly you're there by choice. People who show up by choice negotiate raises differently. They set boundaries differently. They get promoted, twice in El Pepperoni's case, because calm people outperform desperate people every single time. Walkaway power doesn't just free you from work. It makes you dangerous at work. You might be thinking, $540,000 sounds impossible on my salary. El Pepperoni started at $58,000 in a cubicle, almost identical to Wojak, and the first step he took had nothing to do with investing. It starts with a Sunday afternoon and a thermos of coffee. El Pepperoni didn't start rich. He started at $58,000 a year in a beige cubicle he tolerated but didn't love. The difference between him and Wojak wasn't income, it was sequence, the order of his financial decisions. And the very first decision happened before he invested a single dollar. He calculated his breathing line. He sat down one Sunday with that $12 thermos, wrote down every expense he could not eliminate without being homeless or hungry, saw $1,800, reverse engineered the target, $540,000, and then built the machine. Every January, El Pepperoni opens his laptop and does something Wojak has never heard of. He maxes out his HSA, health savings account. Money goes in pre-tax, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free for medical expenses. Triple tax advantage. No other account in America does this. Not a 401k, not a Roth, nothing. Maximum contribution, $4,150 per year for an individual. El Pepperoni maxes it and invests it in a total stock market index fund inside the account. He pays current medical bills out of pocket, saves every receipt, and in 20 years, those receipts become tax-free withdrawals whenever he wants. Wojak walks past the HR poster about HSA enrollment every single morning. The paper is yellowing at the edges. He thinks HSA is a type of insurance. That misunderstanding costs him $800 a year in taxes he doesn't need to pay. After the HSA, El Pepperoni hits his 401k. His company matches 50 cents on every dollar up to 6% of his salary. On $58,000, that's $3,480 contributed, $1,740 matched, free money, a 50% instant return before the market opens. 1 in 4 Americans with access to a match don't contribute enough to get the full amount. Wojak is one of them. He opted out during onboarding because he needed the cash. That single checkbox compounded over 30 years at 10% average return will cost him over $940,000, almost $1 million, erased by one form, then the Roth IRA. $7,000 a year, after-tax dollars, every cent comes out tax-free in retirement. At 10% average return from age 30 to 60, that $7,000 annual contribution grows to over $1.2 million. Tax-free, every penny. El Pepperoni's emergency fund sits in an online high-yield savings account, earning 5.25% while Wojak's big bank, the one with the marble lobby, pays 0.01. On $15,000, that's $786 a year versus Wojak's $1.50. Same FDIC insurance, same risk, different account, different result. And those credit card offers, banks keep mailing. El Pepperoni opens a new rewards card, hits the minimum spend on groceries and gas he'd buy anyway, collects the sign-up bonus, $500 to $1,000 in cash back or travel, and moves to the next one, 3 to 4 times a year, never carries a balance. Credit score stays above 780. Banks designed these bonuses to hook people into revolving debt. El Pepperoni takes the bait, pockets the reward, and walks out before the trap closes. They call him a deadbeat. He considers it a compliment. The sequence matters. Emergency fund first, 1 month of expenses in high-yield savings. Then the 401k match. Then HSA max. Then Roth. Then increase 401k toward the annual max. Then taxable brokerage. Each step builds on the last. Each makes the next one easier. There's a rule in wealth building that El Pepperoni learned early. The first 100,000 is brutal. It takes years of discipline and feels like pushing a boulder uphill in the rain. But after 100,000, compound interest flips. Your money starts earning money faster than you can spend it. El Pepperoni hit his first 100,000 after 4 years. The second took 2.5. The third took under 2. By year 10, the portfolio was growing by more than his annual salary every single year. The machine was feeding itself. And all it cost was a used Camry, a $12 thermos, and the ability to ignore SHIB Ninja's Instagram stories. 10 years. That's all it took. But for Wojak, those same 10 years went somewhere very different. Remember that dealership? The fluorescent lights are off now, and there's a tow truck in the parking lot. Remember that dealership from the beginning? The leather smell, the sweating paws, the red car gleaming like a promise? Let's go back, but fast forward 6 years. It's raining. The thin, cold kind that gets into your fur and stays. Wojak is standing on the sidewalk watching his Ferrari ride the back of a flatbed tow truck. Not because it broke down, though it did, twice, at $4,700, but because he missed 3 payments. The repo company sent a guy named Danny who smelled like cigarettes and wouldn't make eye contact. Danny hooked the car in 7 minutes. Wojak watched from the curb, clutching his pack of buckwheat, and felt something crack in his chest that wasn't a rib. It was the last piece of the story he'd been telling himself, the story that said he was winning. SHIB Ninja is at the bus stop. The bus stop. The BMW went back 4 months ago. The gym membership got canceled, or rather, he stopped paying and the gym sent it to collections, dropping his credit score by 85 points. The trench coat has a tear in the left sleeve he can't afford to fix, so he tells people it's distressed fashion. His phone screen is cracked worse than before because he threw it against a wall when his last meme coin went to 0. Flo King had sworn that one was going to Valhalla. Valhalla turned out to be a rug pull run by Baby Doge from a laptop in a Starbucks. SHIB doesn't even have the energy to scream, "Doge is finished," anymore. He stands at the stop, rain dripping off his coat, and reaches into his pocket. There's a pack of buckwheat in there. Wojak shared it with him last week. For the first time in 5 years, SHIB Ninja is quiet. And El Pepperoni? He pulls into a parking spot at his brokerage firm's office. Not because he needs to. Everything's automated. But today his portfolio crossed 750,000. He's still driving the Camry. Still brewing coffee in the thermos. Still wearing the pepperoni sombrero that makes the receptionist smile every time he walks in. She has no idea he could buy the building's parking lot with what's in his brokerage account. That's the point. Real wealth doesn't make noise. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't expire in 24 hours like an Instagram story. It sits in index funds and HSAs and Roth accounts, compounding silently like a forest growing in the dark, while Ferraris get towed and trench coats tear and meme coins collapse to 0. El Pepperoni didn't get here by being smarter. He got here by learning rules that nobody teaches. Rules that the system needs you to never discover because your ignorance is their revenue model. Deadbeat. That's what they call someone who learned the rules and refused to play their game. Wojak is standing in the rain. SHIB is at the bus stop. Both of them had the same salary, the same access to the same 401k, the same HR poster about HSAs yellowing on the same office wall, the same 24 hours in every day. The only difference, the only one that mattered, was what they did with the $3,650 a month that separated a Ferrari payment from an index fund contribution. If this video changed how you see your next paycheck, subscribe and hit the bell. Every week we dissect another trap the system built for Wojak and show you how El Pepperoni walks right past it. Drop a comment. What's your breathing line number? Run the math tonight. I read every single one. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. Every dealership, every pre-approved envelope, every ad that whispers, "You deserve it," it's architecture. Designed to move money from your pocket to theirs, one payment at a time. But now, you know the blueprint. You've seen the math. You've watched the Ferrari get towed and the Camry pull into the winner's circle. There's only one question left, and it's the same one El Pepperoni asked himself 10 years ago, in a beige cubicle, staring at a paycheck not so different from yours, feeling that same tightness in his chest you're feeling right now. Do you want to look rich, or do you want to be free? You can't do both. Your move.